this agreement has nothing to do with what Kenya wants to become.
What does Kenya want to become?
A democratic state that observes the rule of law, that protects human rights for everybody in the republic.
Does the document highlight that?
You have asked me a question. That is a document, it's not the constitution. What I'm trying to bring you to, and you are educated. You see, sometimes I wonder what happens with political operators like you. I am
yourself
not
as well.
Raila. I am not attacking Raila. I'm not attacking William. What I'm telling them...
You are playing politics, Senator.
No,
you are playing politics.
But what is my job? Is to
Your
play
job
politics.
is to play politics to the benefit of the public.
Kenyans
what you are saying does not work. The reality is there are issues of concern, and they must be addressed,
Those
Senator.
issues can be addressed by the constitution being implemented.
And yourself
those
sitting in the
issues,
Senate.
you have got every member.
Okay.
Look at the way people in ODM are behaving. How power is sweet. How in fact the control of budget.
Interesting, I'm not even a member.
How in fact what are they talking about? They have now tested blood. And what we are saying is, we don't want any leader to test blood. The constitution tells us what to do. We have refused to basically implement that constitution, follow that constitution, for us to begin having handshakes, which basically are about two individuals, yes, who are leaders who are highly respected. And yet the reality is very simple. We continue borrowing. We are overtaxing Kenyans. We have got cases where the judiciary is basically being dismissed as if they have no role to play in our republic. We don't have an IBC. We don't. I mean, Sam. Okay. This is what breaks my heart. You don't need Prime Minister Raila and William Ruto to sign an agreement.
Who do you need?
For us to strengthen Chapter 6.
Who do you need?
What you need is for the country, the presidency, the members of parliament to follow the law. And right now, nobody follows the law. They only follow the law when it's convenient.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank my brother Wandeto, because the reality that you saw on that day, in fact, if you look at the chronology of the discussions, it was like it was an agreed setup. And I could even suggest further that I think when those presentations were being made by Junet Mohammed and company, it was basically a setup where if it had gone to the next level, what they intended to do is come up and pass a motion on the floor of the House, and then after that start making recommendations how these officers now needs to have their performance questioned by a committee. Most probably, can we call out the budget committee or some? It is so unfortunate how some of us don't realize the damage we're doing to the structures that make our country move. I have said severally, and it's because I was advantaged to sit in the CIPA committee.
Yep.
And I had my brother Ichungwa talk about how, according to him, the audit which is presented by the Auditor General is not final. Sam, there is an entry meeting before you do an audit. The officers come from the AOG, they sit with you. The officers in any institution, they give you what their investigation and research have found. They give you a period of close to 3 months for you to respond. Whatever they recommend, and by the time that report is being presented at the House, it's nearly conclusive. All that we do at the committee now is to say, Auditor General, can you please tell us why you concluded this day? They say, we concluded because documents were not available. 90% of the audit queries, there are no documents available. 90% of the audit queries we don't have leadership, whether it is at the county level, as the executive, or at the national level. People don't want to follow the PFM Act. People don't want to follow the laid out procedures by the Finance Act and the Public Finance Management Act to make sure that we actually have prudence, we have responsibility, and we have proper management of our resources. Number two, Sam, when I saw Junet talk about how governors go to the controller budget and they ask for a kick. I mean, they are then asked for a kickback by the controller budget for them to release payments. Why would you want to pay the control of budget if you follow the law? And basically, all you do, the requisition you make, the responsibility of the control of budget is to check and follow whether you follow the law. And you know what most of the governors are doing, and indeed most government departments, but I'll use the governors today so that it's simple, Sam.
No. Actually, what again we have done is something that is undemocratic, it's unconstitutional, and it's illegal. And Sam, if you look at the 10 points of the MOU, and I would like to just basically deconstruct them very, very. I am wondering what it is that Raila Odinga brings on board to enable the country achieve the items that are tabulated in number 2 to number 10. I'm also wondering what it is that the government lacks to be able to implement these things. I think the government is facing significant headwinds from Kenyans. That's the truth. Ask the average man on the street, whether in Bomet, whether in Gishu,
whether in Kisii,
the average man on the street is feeling disenfranchised, is feeling unhappy. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, this agreement is nothing more than a political propping up of a government that is no longer able to face its people based on the promises it made versus the reality that Kenyans are facing every day. If I look at this 10-point agenda, if you look at number 2, which talks about equitable budget allocations, yeah, that one is very well covered in Chapter 12 of the Public Finance Act. Mm-hmm. If you look at number 3, which talks about again devolution, that one is in the whole of Part 2 of the Constitution, and it is very, very detailed. The drafters of our Constitution, almost now, 15 years ago, had the foresight of how they would like, this thing run. If you look at, number 4, investment in youth, again, they talk about, the opportunities for all. If you look at leadership, integrity, an head of opulence, this is Chapter 6 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. If you look at, number 6, which is the right to peaceful assembly. This is very well, entrenched in, in Article number 37. And there's nothing new. If you look at, number 7, which is the audit of national debt and how it is used, Sam, let me just quickly.
Maybe it's important to restate commitment.
I'll come to that. But if you look at, again, audit of national debt and how it is used, this is very well covered in Part 3, of, Chapter 12, Part 3 of the Constitution. They talk about how this is managed. Yes. If you look at fighting corruption, again, we go back to leadership and integrity. Act. If you look at, stop wastage of public resources, again, Chapter 6 of, of the Leadership and Integrity Act. If you look at protecting the sovereignty of the people, which was the last point, ending abductions, rule of constitutionalism, and respect to press freedom, which is something I know that touches you people, and in the recent past, we've seen journalists being roughed up, left, right, and center as they do their work. The right to life, Article 26 of the Constitution, the freedom of conscience, of assembly, of speech, 32, 33 of the Constitution. So I sit here and I wonder, what are these instruments that we lacked to do the right thing as a government? Mm-hmm. Yet these instruments were handed to us by the drafters of our Constitution, some of whom have gone ahead of us. May God rest their souls in eternal peace. And in their wisdom, they wrote such a fantastic document that is now, a benchmark world over. What are these additional instruments? So I think, for me, I do not see the sincerity of this MOU because I do not see what it is supposed to achieve. Like I've said, it's a political propping up. It is trying to silence the masses. That is why Fred Okango, my good brother, I can quote him as an example. When we used to come here with him a few months ago, he would be guns blazing Now you can see he is calm.
But you two, you're on the other side.
Collected.
That time you're defending the government.
I'm talking about Fred. My turn. Fred can talk about me if he wishes.
Okay, I'll talk about it.
But you can see,
Talk of the law,
tables have turned. You saw what we saw, in some other areas in parts of Nyanza. And I think all we are trying to do is to calm the anger of Kenyans. But we are calming them with talk.
Yep.
Because when they go home, they face the same daily hardships in life. They are still
you don't see the value in the
facing,
following sentence, Honorable Ndeto,
yes,
that the two leaders commit and resolve to collaborate and cooperate with each other by conducting broad-based consultations between themselves on the key issues identified.
Who took the oath of office? Which oath of office did Raila Odinga take? Who took the oath of office to protect press freedom? Who took the oath of office to protect the Constitution? Who took the oath of office? Is it Raila Odinga? So where does Raila Odinga come in this equation? But the truth of the matter is, Raila Odinga has become some sort of oxygen or life support machine. He was for Moi, he was for Kibaki, he was for Uhuru. So
he's now with William.
He seems to be doing it well.
Okay.
And, but it has nothing to do with the 10 points basically raised here. But from where I sit, Sam, though I'm not sure this is going to bring any change, since I'm not, concerned with, bread-based government.
Surely, it's broad-based.
Sorry.
It's bread-based.
Sorry, that was a slip of the tongue.
Broad.
Okay. So
I really expect this to be a very objective, serious conversation.
Yeah.
And
okay, Sam has corrected me.
no.
So, see, the broad-based government. I think we can wish them well. And
okay.
If this will make Shah work,
yeah,
well and good.
Surely.
If this will bring an end to abductions, so be it. If this will improve the welfare of Kenyans, if this will improve, will bring more money to the pockets, well and good. But Sam, from where I sit,
You don't see it.
My little knowledge of public finance, of governance, or whatever, I see no new ingredients that we are putting in this mix that would give us a different result from what we are seeing.
All right.